Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today with my week of reading update. This is where I talk about the books that I read last week, what I'm reading this week, and potentially on tap for next week. So I had a very good reading week, but I can't talk about some of them because it's the BookTube prize judging time. Now, I do know that some judges are actually talking about the group that they've received. I just don't trust myself. Look, I can keep anybody else's secret, but I'm really bad with my own secrets. So I am not going to say which group that I'm in, and I'm not going to talk about the books that I'm reading for that section. So with that, there's going to be kind of some gaps in what I talk about. But I do want to talk about what I did finish, because I did read a few things. So let's get straight to it. The first thing that I finished was Wolf Hall. This is by the amazing Hilary Mantel. I'm so glad that I reread this and that I did it with everyone who is reading with Cromwellathon. I think that the first time I kind of raced through, and this is not a book that you can do that with. She's not the type of writer that allows that. Things are not necessarily linear. There are a lot of jumps in the way she puts the story forward. The characters are really intricate, very nuanced. So there's a lot here that you need to be aware of and you need to pay attention to. And quite frankly, I had a really, really long 2.5 weeks at work. So when I would come back and I would start to read this, I really needed to be in the right headspace to be able to appreciate all of the nuance and appreciate all of the subtlety and draw the parallels and connections that she was putting forth. So I didn't have the opportunity to do that before, and I think it reflected in my just liking it, whereas I really enjoyed it this time, and I think the slower pace helped to do that. Unfortunately, I'm going to put pause on reading Bringing Up the Bodies, even though I have it. And the reason is because I'm just too overwhelmed with work as well as BookTube prize judging. So given how much I enjoyed it by going slowly, I need to do that for Bringing Up the Bodies and then for the last book that'll be out in March. So sorry, we're going to have to postpone the date for this one, but such is life, am I right? Okay, next up, I have finished something for Mementomoriathon. So if you haven't seen this, you're really missing out. There are 4 preeminent, illustrious members of our BookTube community, that being Doris from Aldi Books, Mel from Mel's Booklet Adventure, Britta Bowler from The Second Shelf, and Sean, the Book Maniac, all got together and a kind of toast/roast of Adam from Mementomori because it was his birthday. So they created something that they knew he would absolutely despise, which is, Adam can be polarizing. And so it is a really funny setup. And I think he even finds it amusing. But Doris created a bingo card, Mementomori bingo card, kind of pulling from things that he loves, things that he hates, and putting it on a bingo card to create this Mementomoriathon. So I wanted to jump in on the fun, and so of course I grabbed a Muriel Spark book. This is the Ballad of Peckham Rye. This is kind of a Faustian tale of the devil comes to town and wreaks havoc, set in a working class neighborhood in northern UK. Yeah, it says it's a London neighborhood, but a Scotsman comes and he may or may not be in league with or actually the devil. So it was a really, in Muriel Spark's way, really kind of funny and snarky and all these crazy setups with a humor throughout, kind of a dark, biting humor. But I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It's not one of my favorites of hers, but I thought it was a fun little read. So that's done. The other thing that I finished, and this is actually in a buddy read that I'm doing with Adam, Mementomori, and Doris from Aldi Books. We were reading Outline by Rachel Cusk together. I just finished it this morning. Usually these go up yesterday, but I had a completely packed day and I had to have my eyes dilated, and that meant that I couldn't I was completely useless for like 3 hours afterward, so I didn't get a chance to edit, and I thought, well, I'll just start again because the lighting was bad. Long story short, that time gave me the opportunity to finish this, so finished it. And I will say there is something so valuable in a buddy read with really smart people. So by reading it with Doris and Adam, I was able to hear their perspectives, because this is my second time reading it. I did it in audio the first time, and I think I did it in one fell swoop. So it was a complete breeze. I just absorbed it and found it really different and interesting and intellectually stimulating. But what I'm getting now from it, after listening and watching how they're approaching it, was more nuance and more subtlety and a richness that I think I overlooked the first time. So it was great to do this again with them, and I have a greater appreciation. I gave it a 4. I can't even remember what I gave it the last time. But for me, the last chapter is the one that pulls all the strings that she was kind of throwing out there and weaves them together. And I'm looking forward to continuing on. That was one of the things that I put in my 2020 aspirations, is that I wanted to read the trilogy and some of her other works as well, more of her nonfiction work, whereas this is her fiction. And so we shall see if they will be continuing the journey with me, or if this is it for them. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. Yeah. So, and then I finished one of my BookTube prize judging assignments. So very happy to check one off the list. Luckily, I'd already read 2. So that means I have 3 more to do. Yes, I've finished 3 and have 3 more to do. So that's great. Now let's talk about what I'm currently reading. From In Real Life Book Club, I'm making progress. And this is Duck's Newburyport by Lucy Ellmann, if you don't know. And this is something that has been like an anchor preventing me from making the kind of headwinds that I normally do. It's requiring me to read in a completely different way. I'm still enjoying it. It is something that is like, it's habit forming. I have to form the habit. But I think last time we talked, I was maybe in the 400s. I'm at 613 now, and I have the day ahead of me. So I'm going to continue to plow through this. And what I find is I get to a place where I start drifting, and I'm not paying as much attention, and that's where I usually stop, and then I'll come back to it either the same day or on a different day. But that's been working for me so far. Then Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventure pinged me and wanted me to jump on the rest of the series. I think there's only 4 in the series so far, and I really enjoyed the first one. This is the Annalee Huber Verity Kent Mystery Series. This one is Treacherous is the Night. I went out and got my library copy, so have that. Thank you, Berkeley Public Library. So this is a series that I knew from the first one I was going to really, really like it, but the second one is just doubling down. It's very smart. It's dealing with real life consequences and situations, which adds depth to what would be a historical mystery. So in this one, the main character is dealing with a love affair with someone who was in the war, and their relationship before the war is very different than their relationship after. And she was in the spy service, and so she had to do some things in the spy service that she is not necessarily ashamed of, but she knows it would not be something that he would look differently at her based on the knowledge. And it's creating a rift between them. But at the same time, he also doesn't want to tell her about what he experienced in the war because it's gruesome and it's painful. And he doesn't realize that she was there, that she was a spy and she was going behind enemy line. So that level of duplicity that was required by the war has added elements to this mystery that I find to be really poignant and really well done. Again, in something that should be a little light, there's a little more heft here. And I like that. That's one of the things that I like so much about the Louise Penny stories, the Three Pines series. And I'm finding it here. Now this is she does two different ones. This is the Verity Kent mystery series. And then she also has a different series that's set in earlier times, more Victorian age, whereas this is after World War II. So I'm very quickly seeing why Mel is a big fan of her writing. So Mel, I'm catching up. I think I have maybe a third left to go. I'm going to try to get this done today, and I have the next one in the series ready to go. So we'll see how far I get with that. That might be part of my potentials for next week. Then I have more BookTube prize judging reading to do. So I'm really hoping to get a couple of those, a couple more knocked out, so that I'm not going into March in a panic. So yeah, so stay tuned for my wrap. I'll be wrapping that up in April, beginning of April. Then pile of possibilities for next week. So as you know, I can't be restrained by just a TBR or forced reading. I will lose my mind. It's not good for me. So I have a whole bunch of things here that I'm interested in that I'd like to jump on. So I mentioned last week Strange Hotel by Eimer McBride. I still haven't had a chance to dive into this, but it's really tiny, so I might bump this up. I also mentioned Effie Briest by Theodor Fontane. That's still sparking my interest. I then have a book from my Bert's list. I'll put a link to that video below. It was a list of recommendations that Bert from Pastori Time gave me as part of a charity fundraiser that he was doing for the against the border for the children of the immigrants that were being detained at the border of the United States and Mexico. So he has provided me a list that is just the gift that keeps on giving. I bought all of the books because I was so amazed at the breadth and depth and how specific they felt to me. And none of them have been even okay books. They've all been stellar. This is Ongoingness, The End of a Diary by Sarah Manguso. I haven't read this, but I've heard so many great things. The cover is gorgeous. It's another slim one, so I might try to sneak this in. I went to a book event. Garth Greenwell was in town and spoke with R.O. Kwan. Garth Greenwell just wrote Cleanness, and R.O. Kwan wrote The Incendiaries, which was a big hit about a year and a half ago, maybe. And it was just a delightful conversation about pornography, prose, punctuation. It was well attended. It was interesting. And you know, Garth Greenwell, he owns the mantle. He will tell you that he is pretentious, and he's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's like, I love opera. So he has this kind of diva-esque hyper extravagance about him. You know, which is nice that someone recognizes that in themselves and can play with it. So, but while I was there, I was at Green Apple in the Park, Green Apple Books on the Park. And of course I had to buy some books. This is something that I've been looking forward to reading. So as you know, I'm doing the Read German Books 2020 put on by Mel and Britta. I'll put a link to their channels and the information below. And this is Stefan Zweig. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Journeys. Now I have been looking forward to reading something of his, and you know, and I'm kind of gearing up for my summer travel and my summer travel plans, which is making me incredibly excited. So this seems like a really timely and perfect opportunity to take this one and jump into it, and especially because it's also very thin. Another really thin book that keeps popping up and is making me think. So this is, I've seen a booktuber and also a commenter, Robotnik, I think is how I'm pronouncing her name, her handle here on YouTube. She also has a great Instagram account, and she was talking about how she's reading this. This is also something that Juan, a Bookish Islander, just said that he read and really enjoyed. This is Strike Your Heart by Amelie Nothomb. And again, another thin one. So I think I'm going to try to have a little readathon today and see what I can see how many of these little thin sliver of genius works I can get through. So you'll have to tune in next week to see which ones I actually touched. If I ended up touching any, who knows. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you soon. Please in the comments let me know if any of these are on your radar, what you think, if you think I should bump something up earlier in my list, especially of my pile of possibilities for next week. And I hope you have a great weekend of reading. Bye.